this is our first time seeing a No play. I've looked at the website to see a little bit about the background, but I really don't know so much about it. But I'm very excited. I've seen some previews of the sets and it looks really amazing. So.
I did look at the website. I watched a little bit of the video and it definitely provoked my curiosity.
The hook.
Friends who raved about it from last year told me I must see this, and they told me as long ago as January, so I was probably one of the first people to make a reservation.
Well, we know that there are modern American variation on traditional Japanese plays, including one featuring Ted Kaczynski.
I know a little bit about the inspiration, that traditionally it's day-long plays made of formalized vignettes, and there's usually a formal set, and there's recurring characters, and there's motifs like ghosts that often come back and to punctuate more serious drama. There's often comic relief. It is an all-day thing, and I'm not sure if we're actually going to get into the second half. We only have tickets for the first half, and even that, not usually used to seeing long-form drama like this all in one sitting, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
I'm not really familiar with the cycle plays, no. To be from daylight until dusk in a setting where the plays continue one after another, I think it's going to be very exciting. I'm looking for the unexpected.
We're curious to see how much of it is movement-based and how much of it is with language. And I've read no plays before that were translated into English, but I've never actually seen one performed.
I know nothing about the cycle plays. I am completely ignorant and ready to be educated. I am excited that there is so much variety promised by the program, and I'm expecting it to be ever-changing and going from serious to comic, and something unusual and enlightening for me that I have never experienced before.
My expectations were, I was hoping to get lost in it because I knew it was going to be such a long day that I wanted to just kind of turn myself over to not thinking about other things that I might normally rush around and do, and just try to be very present in watching the piece and observing it, and I thought it would, it would maybe change the way I think about theater. Like sometimes when I go to a music piece and it's really, really long, I get impatient in the middle, and then what happens after that, I feel very alert and transformed by it. So I'm hoping for something like that.
The horse is starving from its head, on back through its winter-blown tail, hanging hunger from the wire of her spine. She's a pinto, she's a pinto, the moon is small, smaller than I am, smaller than the horse, but the world is under the moon, and the moon is death. It's a fingerprint pressing sharp seeds into the eye of our experience. She is a pinto, she is a pinto, that which in her spirit could save the girl is.
I was immediately at home with the first piece, where, of course, the old women were everywhere, and there was this ritual of renewal. I found the first movement very beautiful and compelling, and familiar, even though it was strange to me culturally.
Compared to the kind of No I'm used to, it has more dramatic and then dances and more words, more movements. So it was easy to enjoy, that kind of movements and celebrations I felt. The second one, I think it was more of a modern story, I suppose, and then maybe it is not part of the 5 stories of No, but in between stories. And I thought this was a generation gap thing about how two young teenagers wanting to go someplace which is modern, and yet they get lost, just like we all get lost in life.
For me, I think that the script, poetically and in terms of its prose, was challenging in the way that surrealism, surrealistic poetry is challenging. But the second piece was in sharp contrast to the first. But that very lyrical ending, we live in times like this, we live in times like this, put into context the craziness of the times in which we do live. And so it struck me as a kind of collective nightmare we share as we live in the times we do live in.
He takes her down from the back of the hill and moves her to a place where no one comes. She is in a trunk and she is on her knees and strangled with a rag from behind. She looks at Scotch broom in blue. She is buried under a sheet of plywood and sleeps 2 months with a patient snake.
Oh, the pressure's on!
Yeah.
It got exciting and good and fun and also slow, and I had to find that place in me where I said, okay, sit, watch, you'll like it. And I found amazing poetry and amazing movements and brilliance, and I was absolutely thrilled and surprised.
Pretty was the no play of our granddaughter. So it was very exciting.
I thought it was very, very well
to see
done.
it, and it was wonderful.
We're the grandparents of Polly Class.
We loved it. I actually had hoped the torture would be more descriptive.
You know, some part is really tense, some part is really soft, and you know, they have a johak-kyu. That's a word for the no, and that's like you know, like some dynamic and some calm. Well, I can't say dynamic. That's only one word, dynamic. It was the one. I loved it. Yeah.
It feels sort of not surreal, but maybe trans-real. I feel like the whole thing was rather holographic. Everything was contained in everything else. It was just really stunning. Yeah, it was amazing.
It was very good. I felt the first segment before the intermission that I didn't really feel the fusion that should be there. It was like it hadn't really connected. The second part did. I thought it was extraordinary. I mean, it really was working. There was something, I think something about the O'Neill piece and the No just kind of connected. Then Moshe Cohen's piece was delightful, you know, and the end piece, Pretty, I thought, was very, very strong.